I'm Aaron Snelling, here with Mike Cornwell. This is the whole grain wrap-up, giving you all the wheat and the chaff and all the background stuff going on here at Fontainebleau Farms with Dixie Fruits.
Yeah, what are you talking? That's right. That was a great intro.
Yeah, it was better the first time around. It was definitely. I'll get that down.
Yeah,
work on that. All
We
right.
had quite the technical difficulties. We recorded the entire show, and then did not have audio. So
Yeah.
now it looks like audio.
All right. That's
And I think
good.
we're like finally on live. We are an hour late, but
Nice.
better late than never.
All right, so we got a couple things we wanted to talk about here. First off, talk about the living hedge that we put up. It's pretty neat. It's about 170 trees planted roughly a foot apart, kind of in a circle. So it makes a little containment center for animals. It's really it's going to be probably I don't know a year or 2 years before we can really. Well, I guess we can string up with the electric wire later on too, but it'll be used as a pen for animals. It's going to give them shelter. Obviously, they can eat the fruits, and just kind of one of the things that we're trying out here.
Yeah, it's something that the kind of living fences really kind of came into play. I mean, I've been thinking about it for a long time, but we got that book from Germany, and that shows the hedges that were in Europe, and it was like, why not make some of these?
This is literally an entire book on the hedges in Europe.
Yes,
it's pretty remarkable.
Actually, it's not a book; it's 2 books.
It's 2 books. Sorry, my bad.
And they're tomes that are like 50 pounds a piece.
Yeah.
But we built what? That's our 3rd one now, right?
Yeah.
The first one, it was kind of this apple dwarf hedge that goes from like June all the way to December, and then we did this other kind of mixed one, very similar to this one, where it's chestnuts and apples and mulberries and all sorts of whatever it was. It's really all the plants we had left over. But this one's pretty interesting because this took just not just having like a living fence or something kind of ornate, but something that's like very practical. That if you have a farm and you have animals, you ultimately have to deal with fencing, and so instead of like just using dead wood to make a fence, you would use the actual trees that are there.
Yeah.
And so if you plant the trees where you want them, then you can put a fence anywhere you want. So in this case, we have this circle in the front that used to be kind of like a driveway circle, and we got rid of that, but we still had this kind of circle, and it's a nice premium area for grazing. Well, we just put the fence going around it with these different varieties of fruit, and building a fence. I mean, there's no other way to describe it.
We're growing a fence.
Yes, growing a fence. And it's interesting. It has sparked some conversations about some business ideas that.
Oh yeah.
What if we out at the farm like grew sections of fence and sold them? So it's like if you needed a 50-foot fence, well, we would just go and bring like these 10-foot sections over there and just stitch them together.
Is that something you're interested in? Potential customer? Let us know.
Yes. Yeah.
That would be really neat to get that going at some point. Definitely our Chateau brand series.
Yes, the Chateau of Fruits.
I guess anything else on that? So we'd start off with chickens, I guess, and then.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
It's a lot less spontaneity in all the questions that I asked last time.
Oh, yes.
I now know the answers to.
Yes, now know the answers. The one thing I noticed when we went over there, or at least one of the things that we did that kind of sped up this process was we put kind of like anchor posts. So every 15, 20 foot, we put like a larger planted tree while the other ones are kind of young. That way we can attach wire to it sooner. I was looking at it. I mean, like, there's no reason we couldn't already put 2 things of wire around it and put like the hogs in there.
It'd have to be some baby hogs.
Yeah, baby. Well, and even then, I'd probably be more tempted to. What we could do is we could put that wire in there and then go around it with electric fencing
Yeah.
It's kind of like to double it up, but you could use that as a training pen
Yeah.
as well. And I was thinking the way that we would manage this in the future is pretty much no limbs about almost knee high, and then from there we would have kind of more thicker branching that happens. But so to prevent kind of an animal from going low, you would just put like that one, maybe two wires around it. And you just keep that
Cleared out
permanently.
there, yeah. All right. Well, we're going to move on to our next topic. Mike read a interesting article on chill hours, and why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Basically, the long and short of it is I've noticed just how much people talk about chill hours all the time. And I've been in the process, at least for the last few years, of beginning to really get to kind of the bottom of what really chill hours is. There's a lot of people that talk about it. It doesn't matter what.
Why don't you explain what the concept of chill hours are for some
Okay,
people?
yeah, sure. Chill hours is, well, the article that I read actually outlined what chill hours is. And it's a concept that originated kind of in the 1920s, 1937 is when this paper came out. And chill hours is, trying to think of the right way to do it without giving the hand away, but that basically that fruit trees, especially temperate climate ones, are adapted to certain amounts of chilling, and then if they don't have that, then it's bad.
Yeah.
Like bad things happen, and if you get a fruit that's too high chill where you live, we're in southern Louisiana, which is like, that's like all anybody talks about is like, is it low chill, is it low chill, low chill.
Yeah,
and all it is just that an accumulation of chill that happens between the 45 degrees to 0 degrees, and then you just add up the number of hours, and then supposedly these cultivars of fruit, which supposedly each one has their magic number. That's like you need those number of chill hours or don't do the fruit or else. And it seems to me that what's kind of really chased me down this path is, for one, southern apples in particular. Everybody thinks it's like this cold weather plant. And then two, the fact that there's like this implicit, if you don't have the chill hours, you don't get the fruit.
Yeah, that's the best part is it's one of these things that we've kind of been asking people when they come, because this is one of the first things people almost inevitably ask us.
I know what you're going to say.
But it's like just what the people come up and they say, well, does it get enough showers? It's like, why is that? Why is that important? Who told you that's important?
Yeah.
Why is that important? And what does it do if it doesn't get the showers? Nobody that I have met has had that answer. Literally no one. They just know that they're supposed to have showers because they see it on the nursery labels.
Yeah. It's I've heard people say it, but it's definitely implicit. But I've seen explicit where it's like, if you don't get the 1,000 chill hours, you're not getting fruit.
Yeah.
And that's kind of observational, but not at the same time. So about this paper, this is the paper that is the source of chill hours. If I'm not mistaken, the title, I could be wrong on this, it's the chilling requirements for temperate climate fruits. And just as a quick overview, it was written in 1937. I think it was like a 12 or 15 year study done in California. It was done in Berkeley. It was done in LA and some other location. And one, it was like San Francisco, kind of like low, and then like high, kind of mountainous.
Yeah.
Not really mountainous, but like above the hills.
I guess, yeah, if you go from the bay to the...
Yeah.
It's a pretty serious...
So even what they were what they were seeing there as well is like... I'll get to that in a minute. So it's like these three locations. So there's like this high up location, a lower but still colder, and then like a totally not cold in LA. And I think they may have had like another kind of higher place there too or something. It's not very clear. Or at least not to my recollection. But what they basically found was that if the trees did not get a certain amount of cold, or they noticed that in the years where there wasn't as much cold, certain trees would react differently, i.e. they would could be categorized as later leafing and later blooming, but mostly later leafing, not later blooming.
Yeah.
And now note, I didn't say no blooming, no leafing. At times, there was situations where they saw no leafing, and I've seen that myself with certain plants. But that could be stress. That could be any number of factors.
Well, I think you made the point last time. Something just to kind of clarify, like, having a late bloom isn't a bad thing in a place where you have a longer summer. I mean, it's almost like, if you don't, if you live in a place that doesn't get as much chill hours, you have a longer summer anyway. So, like, it doesn't seem like in any way it affects it all. Like,
and even then, I might further say that, if we're gonna talk about something like terroir, like terroir being, depending on where you grow, like the conditions that the fruit changes and adapts to it, and imparts itself on the flavor of the fruit. You better believe you're going to get a different kind of apple with the same, clonal variety. One grown in Washington that's picked completely unripe versus one that's grown in a southern climate where it's just getting, the only hours it gets is like full on sun ripening hours.
Well, and we even, we talked about the Dixie Red from Russia, being so the Dixie Red Delight is a Mississippi apple that was famous.
Alabama.
Okay. Well, all right. Anyway, famous. All right. There we go. Thank you.
I just had to jump in on that one.
No, that's good.
That's not one of the Mississippi ones.
Well, all right. Anyway. Yeah, well, it's because the guy was in Mississippi. The dude who.
Yeah, there's definitely. I think there definitely is some. Sort
either
of
way, it was in the area. It was in the South. Point being.
Yeah.
And it was actually a sport of a cultivar that came from
seedling, right?
Hmm?
Isn't it? It's a seedling of yellow transparent, or was it a sport?
It's a sport off Red Delight.
Oh, okay.
Which came from yellow transparent.
Well, now I'm learning something new again on this thing. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
And so, but either way,
a sport. Just to kind of quickly clarify some of these things. A sport is, as best as I can tell, a genetic mutation. What I'd probably say, with putting on my current science hat, probably like an epigenetic mutation, where all of a sudden environmental conditions say that it should be expressed this way.
Yeah. So anyway, but this apple, so the Red Delicious came from the yellow transparent, which was an apple brought over in the 1870s by the USDA from Russia. So this apple, in one generation, was capable of adapting, and the yellow transparent also was a big famous apple in Mississippi. So, it's just clear that even one that would have been like a high chill, did just fine and went on to have several scions.
I mean, it's possible that it may have taken on different characteristics. I've seen in some of the literature on this stuff that maybe it ripens a little earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes, again, the terroir works both ways. Sometimes it might be like this amazing apple, and other times it's probably crap, total crap. And Kevin Hauser, we can't have this conversation without mentioning Kevin Hauser. In California, he planted 160 varieties of apples, and his best ones are his story is like, the more I talk about it, the more it captivates me. His best apples are the ones that he least expected, most of which are not from hot climates, actually. Yeah. And oftentimes they were better than any of the ones that you would normally get. Fuji comes to mind, and his Honeycrisp. And Honeycrisp is this one that's notoriously terrible growing. It wants to kill itself, and apparently it grows just fine for him. And fruits. And so this guy's in Riverside, California, and yet he's able to grow these 160 varieties of apple. In fact, to just underscore this chill hours thing, which I swear I'm writing a paper on it, or at least an article that
a blog post, Twitter post.
A blog post. I'll Twitter some angry words about it. He got fruit off of every single apple.
Yeah.
So back to the chill hours thing. One of the things that it said in the paper that could be bad is, and this is in California, mind you, which is, it's a desert climate. So keeping things very in perspective, it's a desert, so that means it's very arid, and the sun intensity is pretty high. So there's like minimal clouds and a lot of sunshine. Southeast is not like that. Sometimes it can get some droughty in places, but it's definitely much more rain, and it has a lot more cloud cover. But so I bring this up because apparently sometimes the issue became with these like ones that were like so wickedly delayed that once the flowers came out, well, they came out, they would put fruit on them, but there wouldn't be leaves to kind of cover the fruit. And so they saw that sometimes like the tree might get sunburned or the fruit might get sunburned and kind of fall off. So that was kind of a negative side. However, you can plan around that. Also, I'd have to mention in this paper as well that the cloud cover, not cloud cover, but shade ended up drastically changing things as well. So things that were in shade ended up blooming sooner than things that were out in the sun.
Yeah.
So it says to me, maybe with some of these high chill varieties, maybe you put them where they're getting half day sun.
Yeah. So it's more of a sun thing then, or
I think it's like one of these situations where, you know, our best chances of mathematically modeling is going to sit around until we create some sort of new paradigm in science, some sort of multi-dimensional calculus. So, you know, you're going to be talking about things like humidity, maybe like light and temperature, and all of these things combined together in this kind of like weird, you know, if you're looking at a chart, it might be some sort of, they call them phase diagrams in geology, where all these forces on a triangle like blend together, and you would kind of, and it does different things. That's how I suspect it probably is much more accurate. And I've read some other papers that said kind of a similar thing.
I just want to, I'm not sure if I said Dixie Red Delight, and also I meant to say Red Delight when referring to the cultivar that came off the Yellow Transparent. I might have said Red Delicious. I was just thinking that.
Oh,
I don't want to get confused.
Yeah, definitely not Red Delicious. Delicious. Wait.
It's
what?
Delight. It's Delight,
yes.
not Delicious. Very different apple. Much better. All right, now we'll just go briefly over some of our experiences at the Home and Garden Show and the Covenant Plant Show. This was our first time doing like not farmer market show. You know, farm market is a lot more. You know, this was the big leagues, so to speak. Especially the
big leagues.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
The Home and Garden Show was very kind of like a unique experience. Especially, I mean, going as we did. This was a place. I mean, everyone there. It's the ACs, mattresses, above ground pools,
cooking stuff.
Yeah.
Pools, jacuzzis, pianos.
It was mostly home. Not so much garden. And what garden there was, I mean, well, I guess they're not different. We're the different ones because they were doing.
We're definitely one of a kind. I mean, when I'm trying to remember what this guy's name was. He like stopped by on the first day. He was definitely either a vendor there or he like worked the show or something. He was walking by and just looked at our banner and just stopped. And he's just like, in all the years that I've been doing this, I have never seen anything like this before. And I was like, well, that's kind of exciting. Either that's a good thing or a terrible thing.
Yeah. We did a pretty good job of setting up the booth. I made the joke the first time around. I mean, it was interesting to see people's reactions to what we had because we were out there with a bunch of puny little twigs with taped on twigs on them, and so it was, you know, our grafted trees looked substantially different from the, you know, 6 foot tall leafed out avocados.
yeah, no kidding.
And just it was interesting gauging people and like their responses. Like, you know, we get people that come in like damn near trip over the blueberries and ask us if all we were selling was apples, which was, we got a kick out of that. And then we also got people asking us if the blueberries were apple trees. That was fun. Played with that a little bit. They're like literally looking at blueberries and asking if this is an apple tree. It was amusing, to say the least. And then, it was just a crazy experience. Definitely something we're gonna be doing a lot more of. I don't know. You have anything to say?
You know, it was definitely pretty interesting. It was definitely at a different level. I mean, we built, we went all out, built like an actual set,
Yeah.
which I think in general, as far as like
We looked the part.
we look, definitely we weren't like,
Yeah.
it wasn't lowbrow by any stretch of the imagination compared to other people. Not that I'm like directly comparing it, but we didn't hang out because we look like a bunch of just like farmer boys in the country or something like that. It was,
Although that would have been a funny thing to do. Maybe we just showed up in like overalls and no t-shirt with like a bunch of like
straw,
soil all over.
Yeah, straw in the mouth. Yep, these apple trees right here.
So,
Yep.
maybe that would have been. Maybe people would have like appreciated the authenticity. Of course, manufactured authenticity.
Of course. Now you've ruined the word authenticity. But
Well,
it was interesting. Like you were talking about the people. I mean, the amount of interest and support was exceptionally high. At no point in time during any 3-day period have I ever gotten more market signups. I mean, we probably had 4 or 5 pages of marketing list signups. We met a number of interesting characters.
yeah.
Every time I do a show, I'm always meeting people who are like very different. And in this case, it was like, I mean, we're in New Orleans, and so we're meeting people who are, they're doing all sorts of stuff behind the scenes, to say the least. And then, in the same conversation, I'll talk to this kind of very, odd characters. Next thing you know, some good old boy from Mississippi will come up, and I'll talk to him about persimmons for 20 minutes.
Or the honey on the grafts.
Yeah, that was like a really cool thing. This guy from Mississippi, he is kind of old timer. He was just all into persimmons and like pears. He was telling me, he's like, oh, I've got 50 pears, planted on like 4 acres. I'm like, sweet, that's cool. But he was telling me about how people would use honey. They would like dip grafts in honey and then wrap it. And when I think about it, it seems like that could actually be pretty beneficial.
Yeah, just keep the moisture out. Gotta watch out for the honey bears, though, I guess.
Honey bears, yeah.
Watch out for Winnie the Pooh.
That's pretty good, because I could imagine wrapping this thing and then all of a sudden like bees attacking it. Like trying to get to the sweet nectar.
Well, hopefully just after you're done grafting. You know what I mean? Like, already been dealing with enough bugs today.
I could see even like if the grafting tape broke, like how ours has had, it probably would still like.
Oh, it definitely creates a seal.
It would like dry up and like really hold it in there, rather than, and not to mention it's like a flexible living product. It probably wouldn't have.
I almost wonder if you even need the honey if you do like a whip and tongue. I mean, not the honey, the tape. If you do a whip and tongue, it'll pretty much hold its spot. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to try that stuff.
That is, yeah, we do got to try that. We should try that, especially like now. I mean, it's not like the best time to put like a fresh tree out there, but if we can put a tree out there by just like, and this is how I'm imagining it. You go and graft it, you got it, you just go.
Yeah.
Then you just bring it out there and you just
into the pot-o honey.
Yeah, pot-o honey. I mean, that's an expensive pot to. I mean, maybe we need like some sort of skinny cylinder that.
Throwing down the big bucks on some grafting honey.
Yeah, what am I thinking?
Like a test tube.
Yeah, I'm thinking. If my wife was out here, she'd probably slap me.
For this or just in general, it's not just a common thing.
Hey,
let's talk about your speech anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I did this. I wouldn't call it a speech. Info session, as they called it. I did 3 of them. Well, I did it for 3 days, and it was I'm trying to remember what the exact title was, but it was something along the lines of like how fruit trees are taking over the Southeast, and really it's this idea that the more I've gone around and like seen different things going on, there's definitely like these big trends that are happening that are just like pervasive from like top to bottom of society. That you have, young upstarts all the way to kind of like retired, professionals who are planting fruit trees. And they're doing it for similar and different reasons, and it looks different, but it's kind of the same. But they're all doing it. And there's like everything from like rise of like permaculture and like urban farming to even like small farming again. I think a lot of that stuff was like really taboo 10, 20 years ago. You would do your own homestead thing, but it was not like if you were starting a farm, you were starting like a big farm, and nobody would tell you get into farming. And like nowadays, I don't think anybody's saying you should get into farming, but people are doing it just, they've got all these other, extrinsic factors.
But you also did it with, what's his name? Zach?
Yeah, Zach George from Crisp Farms in the Ninth Ward. I mentioned him in the talk, and he's one of these urban guys who he moved into the Ninth Ward. I think his story was along the lines of he was looking for a house, and he wanted to get something kind of cheap that he could, do some permaculture on and kind of build a community. And so he went into the Ninth Ward, and he just like totally turned this place around. And it's crazy when you just like drive down the street, you're just like, that's his house. Like I don't even need to know the number of the house because it's right there. Just because like all the foliage is different.
Yeah. The
grass is different. It doesn't look beat up. It was right there. I mean, even behind the privacy fence, you could see there's jungle going on. And so like you drive past his house and you go around and like the street sidewalks are like covered in fruit trees. And it's like, oh, this is pretty cool. So I was talking about him in the talk, and then on Saturday, sure enough, he showed up, and I mean, he did all the talking.
That's nice.
So that was pretty exciting. It made it a lot easier to explain what he's doing when I can just go.
Yeah.
You just go right ahead.
All right. And then I guess we could briefly talk about Covington.
Yeah, the North Shore Plant Show.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. A lot more plants, but we were still the only fruit tree. Well, there was like one other fruit tree.
Yeah, one other one. They were just purely citrus and avocados, which seems to be a pretty hot thing.
Yeah.
Especially down here. Everybody's like, oh, where's the citrus at? I mean, it's available everywhere, so I don't know why people are always asking where they can buy a lemon tree.
Home Depot.
Yeah, pretty much. You can buy them at.
All right.
But, it was definitely a different kind of show. It was... For one, people that were going there, they're obviously interested in plants.
Yeah.
At the Home and Garden Show, it was like, garden?
Yeah. Well, definitely, like, I think I had maybe 2 conversations that touched on the topic of permaculture, and that was, like, I could tell it was like, what? Like, it's like I was speaking another language, which was kind of cool to be like the, like, first person to like introduce them. Maybe hopefully one or two of those people, I doubt it, but maybe they will go on to get into permaculture.
Oh, you mean are we talking about
at the Home and Garden?
Yeah.
Covington, a lot more plant oriented people. A lot of people coming up and quizzing me in particular.
I always love that when somebody comes up and instead of like adding value to a conversation or like trying to get knowledge or something, they like come to test you.
Yeah.
And the more
these are master gardeners.
As I've gone down the rabbit hole, I've come to find that it's like it just don't work that way.
Yeah.
Like quizzing people, there's like the level of right and wrong answers is just so minimal.
Yeah.
What's the correct spacing on a tree? Whatever.
Yeah.
These answers are just ridiculous. We talked about chill hours earlier. All sorts of these kind of questions.
Yeah. I don't know. What's the takeaway, I guess, from that?
You talking about the show?
Yeah, the shows. What do you think we gained the most from those?
Well, for one, it was just like getting the message out.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it that I think
a lot of good contacts.
I think we definitely succeeded in that. We pushed the ball forward. We made like contacts with like landscapers, like people who want landscaping, people who are like buying and flipping homes. Not even just flipping, but buying and like building like integrated housing units, and there was just like tons and tons of people. And then at the Covington show.
Well, another thing I wanted to point out. So we started doing our custom yard design. So the Home and Garden Show was the first time that we offered our custom design, which is basically we go to your house, look at it, check it out, look at some of the conditions of the soil, kind of drainage and the sunlight, and get an idea of basically setting up your backyard to be like an edible fruitscape, and we got a couple takers, which is interesting and also really exciting, especially at a place like the Home and Garden Show. We've already gone out and done one of them, and we're pretty close to finishing that up. We just gotta, put the trees in, basically.
Yeah, we just need to set the date, and we're putting in like 70 fruit trees.
Yeah, which is awesome. This is something I think everyone should have. I mean, it's great. Like even walking around here, and just you go out at night, eat mulberries and stuff. That's like a.
So wait a minute, you're leaving, going out at night and eating mulberries.
Not at night, sorry. Afternoon, yeah. I'm not like sneaking out of the house like, I'll get the mulberries.
Now I know why the harvest was so low yesterday.
Right. Keeping them all for myself. We got like Julia's hands, like they're all just covered in mulberries in the morning.
Yes.
But yeah, so...
yeah, it was interesting to see that. I guess we just did not like communicate that nearly as much at the Covington show, because... I don't know, it's always weird doing these things where they're always so different. Yeah. I'm telling you, like, every single time, it's like, I'm, like, planning, like, strategizing. Even at the farmer's market, it's like, where I'm at the same place, like, week in and week out. It's like, okay, well, this weekend, I'm really going to try to just, like, let them do their thing. And, like, all of a sudden, it's just, like, I'm midway through, and, like, I just completely threw that plan out the window. Because it's like, I thought that they would probably want this, and they just everybody seems to want that.
We have totally, I mean, yeah, you talked about the first iteration of this, all the natives we sold.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
Sold out of mulberries. Which is hilarious.
Never
because
happens.
Just, it seems like maybe we need to just keep saying like, oh, nobody will buy the apples.
Yeah, right?
I mean, even though they sell pretty well, it's like, we made that comment like a month ago that it's like, why do we have to sell the mulberries so hard and nobody will buy them?
Yeah.
And then the next...
They're awesome. They're really awesome.
Yes, they are awesome.
Brainwash. But they are awesome.
But like the next weekend, they were gone.
Yeah.
And then we go to the Covington show, and they were gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like... And I don't know, maybe it was because they were so close to the front. It's like... I'll take those.
People didn't want to walk all the way to the back of the 12-foot stand. People like, those apples look great, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I just, how much are these? I've also come to find that it's like at the stands. This is like off topic, I guess. I guess this is now like the Business Insider perspective, but it seems like people can only see like the biggest stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not even words, it's just like kind of imagery.
Yeah.
Because it's like, always get questions like, how much does it cost? And it's like, it's right there. Like, it's giant text right in front of it. Or, what is this? And these types of things. What do? You don't see the banner behind me that says fruit trees and edible?
Paid good money for that banner.
Yeah, that's right. What is the value of a banner? I don't know. Maybe, again, maybe we need to just do like Coca-Cola and just have like a can flying out and it just doesn't say or do anything.
Well, I think it appeals to the brainier people. Figured out, deduce that they need to look at the banner and read it as opposed to just glossily looking over it.
I think maybe what it is like maybe if we just like, if we get so busy like before, maybe they just like have so much time now to look around. That definitely happened at the Home and Garden Show. That's one thing we found out as well. No surprise. Like we were like swamped.
Yeah, it was pretty busy.
I haven't been that swamped since I worked at like a retail place during like a bad time where it's just like, I'll have to get to you 5 other people some other day.
I wonder if we could have done a demonstration then. You know what I mean? Like kind of like been like, hey everybody, like kind of come over here. We're gonna do a demonstration. Just I don't know. We'll have to look into
maybe we'll turn that to get you guys a little bit more involved. If any are still watching this, like if you went to a home and garden show or like a plant show, what kind of demonstration would you want to see?
We'd love to hear some comments on that.
Yeah, what what type of things would you be interested in seeing? I mean, are we talking about like pruning demonstrations, like maybe combining plants together, like doing like spacings? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what we could do other than cooking and
Yeah.
the little bit less landscapey.
You can always get people to come to your booth with free food. So, although we did try with the blueberry muffins.
Blueberry muffins.
that little girl. You should charge $1 for the muffin. Oh man.
It did work. We did get a couple dollars.
Anyway, let's talk about
moving forward.
We are pretty much got enough time that we've definitely hit our mark. So we want to talk about our project that we're doing at Fontainebleau High School. It's been in the works now, probably going on a month and a half. It was like a week or two when I came out here.
Yeah.
And what it is, I'll let you say it.
Sure. The Fontainebleau High School project is basically building an edible schoolyard at Fontainebleau High School in Mandeville. And the school is basically the guy there, David Trish, brought me in. We kind of met at a permaculture event. And he told me that he was kind of moving up there and he became the ag science teacher. And he found out that, I do fruit trees and permaculture, and we just kind of connected together. And it's been his kind of project in his mind to like totally revamp the school. And he's doing this with a couple other people, at least the total revamp. But his perspective or his particular part is the landscaping and, making it edible. So he's already put in, I think he said 18 or 20 raised beds, and he said he's going to put another like 12 more in or something like that. And then
it's about 32 more than I had in mine.
Yes, I mean it was he's got a lot going on. And then putting in fruit trees. And so I first kind of came in there and was like, trying to feel things out. And I was like, yeah, we could definitely put fruit trees in and all these kind of unused spaces. But then he kept kind of indicating like, go a little bigger. And eventually he was like, yeah, just walk around the school and like decide, where all fruit trees are going to go. And at one point I finally got the hint. I was like,
this dude wants fruit everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. He said at some point, he was just like, I want you to just design everything. Like every single open space, put fruit trees in it. And I was like, okay. And I was like, now that you've said this, let me make sure that you're in the driver's seat because I don't want to hold the project up.
Yeah.
and I'm the one trying to get the trees out. So we've already started putting in. There's trees in the ground now. We put in mulberries and apples this last week, and I gave 5 grafting classes on a Bradford pear there that we're grafting over and put 20 million grafts of pears on there.
Zero casualties on that too.
0 casualties. Can't say that about the one here locally that we had at least 3 people cut themselves, but
some amateurs, no doubt.
funny how the high schoolers with 0 experience did a little bit better than the older folks who were enthusiasts.
But it's too bad we didn't have any master gardeners out here to really make sure.
We didn't.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I guess I'll wrap that up. Here soon, we're going to be doing this project for the next 3 to 5 years, and this is really a project for us that's like, this is kind of like our intimate personal project where we're making sure that this one gets off the ground right, so that we can, use it as like a domino effect, and then start with here. Then who knows? Go to the middle school, which is right next door. And then start hitting the elementary schools. And I always think of these projects, especially this kind of stuff, as like an oil spot. You get that one started, and it just starts leaking out. And just goes out, and it just propagates. Eventually to where, hey, I mean, maybe every school in St. Tammany, or, I mean, maybe it's a nationwide thing where all of a sudden, students who go to these schools now all of a sudden know, like, it's kind of, it's like this testament to, or this issue that's like, there's all these native fruit trees that grow here all over the place, and nobody's ever heard of them, let alone taste them. Like the only people I know that have ever had a persimmon were like enthusiasts.
Yeah. Well, even just growing fruit. I mean, that's the thing I'm thinking about. It's like, these schools, we don't have like home ec or like shop classes anymore. I mean, I didn't. But
really, in Texas, they didn't
no.
have... Really?
Yeah.
That seems crazy to me.
I don't know. Maybe I was in all the thanking classes, but
yes.
But I mean, like, how cool would it be to have like a nature, like planting, like a nursery, or I don't know, I'm trying to think of the word, like a horticulturist class. And I think honestly, a skill that's being lost.
I think it's like a basic, like it's like a life skill.
Yeah, definitely beneficial. And we've talked about this. I mean, I think the largest thing though is just that. I mean, these kids get to see the outcome of their actions. Whatever they put into those plants, they're gonna get the result. And I think that teaches just a much larger message. I mean, just learning and kind of, what's the use of actually like trying and doing stuff as opposed to things that are, like it's, at school, you go to school for, 10 years, 5, so 13 years. And then, it's difficult to understand that is going to lead to a, better job 20, 30 years down the road. Whereas having the immediate result of saying, oh man, I got some apples because I cared about this tree and, gave it some love and, plenty of mulch and, whatever else, that kind of reinforces that cause and effect.
When you said that before, it just like, it literally summed it up perfectly, because it's like the mulberry, you can get fruit a year after planting it, or, a year and a half. And so it's not like, with annuals, that's why people usually do annual veggie gardens, is because that you can put the squash in, and with like 45 days, you're getting squash off of it. You can definitely tell. But there's a difference between the micro and the macro.
Oh.
Well, carpenter bee.
Get in my face.
The fruit trees they're a macro thing. And so it's not with like, I think of like school, right? It's the way that it's so oriented now, it's like a right-wrong situation. So it's like there's definitely specific things that you learn, and the way that you're like learning it is so that you can say what that is later on with actuality. So it's like, 2 + 2 = 4. So later when you're like tested on this, it's like 2 + 2, well, it equals 4, and then you're right or you're wrong.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but the real world is not like that.
Yeah.
It's just not even close. It's not even close to that. It's so much more gray, and the reality is it's like here, a great quote that I heard about was like, you fail your way to success.
Yeah.
Or for example, that like the astronauts failed their way to the moon. So the moment you shoot a rocket off, within like moments, it's already off course. Yeah. So you have to constantly make adjustments. You can't make adjustments on 2 + 2 = 4. So bringing it back to the plants, sometimes you could plant 2 mulberries, like same spot, one dies. Same conditions, same babying or non-babying, all of those type of things, and one will die. And so what does that teach you in life? It's not necessarily luck. If you want to call it luck, it's just like that's what happens. However, the more you plant, the more you do, the more chances for success, if you want to use the word chance and all that kind of things. And so you get the results from actually putting in the effort. And the cool thing about fruit trees, unlike veggies, you don't have to baby them. You have to do the big things to get the actual returns, rather than focusing on the micro. Yeah. Which that's one of these things that so many people focus on, like micro pictures, and they never see the big picture.
Yeah. I think it teaches them a lesson whether it lives or dies.
Yeah,
because even if it dies and they put in a bunch of work, well, that's a part of life too.
It is.
Sometimes you work and then it just doesn't work out, and you just got to plant another tree. Well, anyway, you got anything else to say?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. That covers the month of March.
Yeah, it's pretty much what we've been doing all month. case you're wondering, guys. Anyway, this has been the whole wheat, whole grain wrap up. Got to get that right.
Yeah, whole grain wrap up.
Bringing you the wheat and the chaff with Aaron Snelling and Mike Cornwell. Y'all have a good day.